Hello and welcome to another episode of Defense India podcast, the podcast where we discuss matters pertaining to India's internal security. And as always, joining me on the podcast is our expert on internal security, Vicky Nanjappa. Vicky, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Akash. Thank you so much.
So, Vicky, as always, we're not going to discuss something which is in home, but which is very close to us in the neighboring country, but to some extent has also affected us in the past also and might also affect us in the recent future. So, talking about Pakistan, a recent bomb attack that took place in Khyber Pakthukhwa, and around 40 people died in that attack, the suicide attack that happened, and ISIS took the responsibility of that attack. So first of all, I want to get your insight about how do you see ISIS now, at a point of time when in the early 2015-16, it rose up, trying to liberate Syria and all those kind of things. And after that, America went full on, war mode against ISIS. And now it has become more of a guerrilla organization, doing these kind of attacks, especially becoming a problem for Pakistan. So, how do you view ISIS today?
Akash, actually, Pakistan has got a three-front problem. Okay, the thing is, after the US pullout happened, their relationship with the Taliban in Afghanistan was not clearly how they would have planned it out to be. They don't see eye to eye today. That is the one thing is there, because there are a lot of disputes on the border, all those issues which are happening out there. And then there is this added problem of the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan. That is another issue which is happening there, which again is opposed to the establishment in Pakistan. And then there is this other force now, this Islamic State Khorasan province, ISKP, that is the thing. Now, they have been, carrying out attacks not only in Pakistan, but in Afghanistan also. Okay. The formation is pretty interesting. Actually, when Baghdadi was alive, he had told the Taliban to join hands with them, but that did not happen. So they remained separate. So immediately they were under control until the US were there, but with this hasty pullout and Taliban not knowing exactly what to do out there at that time, and the security mechanism became chaotic out there. And this, further strengthened the Islamic State out there, and they have been, on a rampage going on with attacks. And that spillage was, bound to happen into Pakistan also, because, there's no real border checks and all that. So it's not exactly a new phenomenon, but, these are all disgruntled elements from, outfits like Lashkar-e-Taiba, then, Harkatul Mujahideen, and then, Taliban, and then, Tehrik-e-Taliban. All these have joined the Islamic State, and they have become, pretty serious threat for Pakistan out there, looking at the way, with the ease with which they are able to carry out attacks in Pakistan. So that is basic bane which is, on Pakistan's head at the moment.
Correct. So I understand that all these attackers have come out from all these fringe groups who have lost their so-called integrity to a lot of extent. What they were, they're merely a skeleton of their past, what they are currently today. But still, this problem actually started with Pakistan in terms of they nurtured these organizations on their land, provided them with arms and ammunitions. We all know that it's an open truth that ISI has been responsible for harboring these kind of people on its own land in Pakistan, and now with them backfiring towards towards Pakistan, saying that it is an ally of the United States. So how does Pakistan now cope up with this kind of a problem? With not just one player, being in its backyard, as they say. I think it was Hillary Clinton or Bill Clinton who, very rightly said that when you, grow snakes in your own backyard, and somewhere down the line, it is going to come back and bite you also. So that is what Pakistan is feeling, and it's not just one snake. there are multiple snakes in Pakistan's background. So how does Pakistan now work around this?
See, issue began, when they created outfits like Lashkar and, Jaish-e-Mohammed and all that. What happened was, these were all directed at, Kashmir and, the larger part of India. That is one thing. But then exactly, Pakistan has been accused by these terror groups of, being an ally of the US, which, they do not like and things like that. And they did not see Pakistan doing much for the Taliban or other groups in Afghanistan when the US was there, and that is why slowly this there have been so many disgruntled elements from these groups who have gone and joined groups such as even Tehrik-e-Taliban or for that matter now Islamic State and things like that. It's too big a problem to deal with. Plus, their economy is also in shambles, so they're fighting a war on many fronts, and also these groups, they also that they pose a big threat to the Belt and Road Initiative also, which is happening there. So Pakistan is under pressure from China also, because these terror groups, if they start targeting their infrastructure projects, then China is clearly not going to be happy. It's a very difficult situation. I mean, it's like a Frankenstein monster they have actually created and things like that. It's extremely difficult. Actually, the only thing that Pakistan can do is first stop creating these groups, to target India, because, they have that one single focus, Kashmir. Now that is out of the question for them. That is one thing. So I think they need to first deal honestly with, their own groups like Lashkar and Jaish-e-Mohammed and all that. I mean, and not only, take some, some action just because, you're coming under the Financial Action Task Force radar and things like that. They keep doing these false arrests and, these false seizures and things like that. They need to clear up their background, where they have control. And once they do that, I think, the world will also view them more seriously and also help them in the fight against terror.
Right. And coming to home now, Vicky, to be very honest, if we come to India, we have seen when ISIS, started its operations, we've seen a lot of people from southern countries, southern states, going to Syria and joining ISIS. And so it has some of its little bit of rootings in India also. Those people who went there. There was this very controversial movie that recently got released, and faced a lot of flank, saying that it was against one community, but what the makers said that it was that how this kind of a brain drain happened from India to these terrorist organizations, and they were trying to portray that. But has happened in the past. Those people who went to Syria and Libya to fight those wars, wanted to come back. They realized that they were not treated as they were told that would be treated. So how should India deal with this kind of situation? Because to be very honest, India itself is fighting so many wars on so many different fronts. If we talk about internal security, you have so many different elements over here. So how do we fight this kind of a war? As the late CDS Doval said that, CDS Rawat said that India has to fight on different theaters. The war is on different theaters for India.
Yeah, when he said, speaking about a three-front war, there was also this thing which got included in that, and that was the cyber war, which is there. Which I think, there was that sudden, this one, what is that, number of people from Kerala, just leaving the country and going to Afghanistan. But, that influx has been, kind of stopped now, because what has happened is it has not exactly panned out the way they wanted out there. Like, there was one of these guys from Kerala who had gone. I mean, they were saying that, it's going to be the caliphate and things like that. And he, in fact, had told his wife, forget caliphate, these guys don't even pray out here. That is one thing. All right. So it's not exactly how they, this one, what is that? It panned out. But where the threat remains extremely high is on the cyberspace. That is this one. I mean, and that, that radicalization which takes place, that is, something which is extremely dangerous for what is happening and things like that. That is one thing. Influx, I think, largely going forward, I think, or rather, even now, the intelligence agency, this continuous monitoring of the social media, where the posts are put up. All those things are, kind of dangerous. It is kind of dangerous out there. So I think on the cyber front, Islamic State looks more dangerous in the India context of it. One thing, there have been many attempts, to group and then have a lot of these like-minded persons in this group and carry out attacks and things like that. But also with the threat of the cyber threat which is there. I mean, in the sense when I'm talking about radicalization online, the thing is the danger is of somebody going and trying to trigger off a lone wolf attack. We saw that happening in Tamil Nadu, where that guy wanted to go blow up a temple. We saw something happening similar in Mangaluru, that is Mohammed Sharif case. Fortunately, both the blasts didn't go through because the thing is, see, these are not hardcore trained guys or something like that. They take up these do-it-yourself kits and make these bombs and things like that. But again, the incident aside, these people have been radicalized online, through social media, through the internet, and the websites which these guys have. Okay, so this remains the problem. That which I would say is that these kind of radicalization which takes place, turning them into lone wolf attacks, that remains a serious threat because there is no real intel on these guys because they operate individually. They get their material online and things like that. So that remains a threat. So I think there's a lot of clampdown which has to be done on the cyberspace.
Correct. Yes, of course, the clampdown has to be done, and especially on cyberspace because that is where these people recruit or do the lot of brainwashing for this youth. But on a closing note, I want to get your insight about: do you feel that the world has actually given up on Pakistan with the kind of situation the Pakistan is currently right now in, with so much political turmoil, so much economic turmoil, so much of border dispute with Afghanistan, China, somehow backing out on a lot of projects that it had invested in Pakistan? Has the world actually given up on Pakistan and it is now a failed state, and or on a way to be a failed state, because many people still believe that it might work out itself? And what do you feel it has its repercussions for India? Because we have heard in a lot of different podcasts that are there online, so many people are discussing that what happens if everything fails in Pakistan and there is a huge wave of people coming in from that side towards India.
Yeah, the thing is, I wouldn't say it's on its way to becoming a failed state. I would always call it a failed state itself because politically or in terms of dealing with terror or economically, there's nothing going right out there. Okay, that is the one thing. And I don't think as long as these agencies like this ISI and Pakistan Army, they keep meddling and creating new and new terror groups and just having what do you say, they focus solely on Kashmir, and when the whole mindset is let's create a ruckus in another country, then you don't do too well for yourself after that. That is one thing. I see, the thing is, an unstable neighbor is not always, a good sign out there. That is one thing. Because, Pakistan has got one tendency. Each time they are, failing in some front, instead of, dealing with that problem, they have this, diversionary tactic. They'll try to carry out some attack here or, boost up the infiltration and things like that. But that is also not succeeding because in the past 6 months, there have been no infiltrations at all. That is one thing is there. So I think on that front, having an unstable neighbor is kind of dangerous along the borders because, they will try and get adventurous, to try and prove a point. And, that one-upmanship against India, just to, please their local public and things like that. So on those fronts, I think that would be a problem for India. But by and large, we have handled Pakistan quite well, actually, over the past couple of years. That is one thing. So I don't see their problems getting solved anytime soon, Akash, because that mindset itself is foment violence in another country. So I think that is of prime importance to them rather than them trying to clean up their own mess.
Correct. Correct. Well, on that note, thank you much, Vicky, for joining me on Defense India podcast and discussing the matters that that somehow affect us. Though today we discussed Pakistan, but yes, being a very close neighbor to India, it has a lot of connectivity to India, and we'll keep on tracking what is happening in Pakistan also. And thank you to all our viewers who have joined in. And if you like this content, please do like and share this video with most of your friends, and do subscribe to Defense India podcast so that we grow in number, the community grows in number. Well, on that note, thank you very much, Vicky, once again for joining me.
Thanks, Akash. Thank you.